But it's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, this is a part 2. I mean, 'cause we did the whitetail cribs a few years back.
Yeah.
Everyone loved that episode. We went and rewatched it yesterday, actually, and just the excitement, the storytelling was great. And the trophy room there is truly one of a kind.
Yeah, that was one of the things. I thought about that too recently. I mean, I actually was in a position to sort of semi-retire about 20 years ago. And my wife was a hairstylist at that time and really making more money than me. And I had a chance to just kind of back off, and I could have just kind of done. But I wanted to move out into the country, and I wanted to build a trophy room, and I found somebody that loaned me a whole bunch of money, and we went out into where you guys came to and built that complex and all that good stuff. And after I did that, man, I had to go back to work for sure, But that was a dream for me. I wanted to build and have a trophy room,
Mm-hmm.
And so I got that done. Now I don't have any room for nothing, But I'm glad we did it, and have enjoyed every minute of that too.
How many animals in the trophy room? How many whitetail specific?
Well, yeah. There's probably 250 plus with the mounts and the horn mounts, and then I hate to say it, but I'm really excited about this pile that I got started next to the safe, and it's about 10 feet long and 5 feet and that high, and it's just full of some pretty doggone good deer, So we just put them in the pile now, The pile has gotten kind of high, It would be kind of neat, and we talk occasionally about, downsizing or doing something different, And I thought, boy, I'd like to have a room where I could just my whitetails, and take every rack that's in here and just at least make a horn, and just, But then I thought, oh man, you're going to be working till you're 90 if you do something like that, But there's a bunch of them. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
When you started way back in the 80s,
yeah,
did you ever imagine to have the career that you did? 60-some feature films, Golden Moose. Did you ever think that was possible? Because you've seen the industry grow to what it is today. You've seen the full evolution from VHS to DVD to online. Did you ever think what you have done was possible back in the 80s?
Well, of course not. But I'll tell you a funny story. After being with the same woman for over 40 years, I was getting ready to go to the SHOT Show, which was just a week or so ago to Vegas, and I'm gathering my stuff there, and I had an afternoon flight, and I was reflecting on my life and my career, and my wife's on the pot. She doesn't like to be bothered, okay? She doesn't like to be bothered for anything, but especially, but I was in the bathroom getting my stuff, and gathering, and I said, Darlene, she goes, I'm on the pot. I said, yeah. I said, when I started doing this 40 years ago, I said, did you ever imagine that I would, have accomplished what I have and be doing this and still be doing it yes, I did. That's why I married you. Get out of the bathroom. But no, I never couldn't envision that,
Mm-hmm.
I know the backstory of how you got started and kind of that first VHS film and some of the troubles that you had to kind of overcome to get that thing to market or out to to viewers. Give us some quick rundown on that story of what it was like taking that step.
Oh my Lord. Hey, listen. I mean, I went to school forever. I was the smartest painter in Tulsa. I went to school 9 years straight with summer school too. I had 4 college degrees, 2 master's degrees. I have a master's degree from Duke, and went back to Tulsa. And well, the night before I graduated from Duke, I bought a pack of Swisher Sweet cigars, and the graduation was up on the East Campus there. And I'm sitting up there smoking on old Swisher Sweet, and security come. And he said, hey, you're not allowed to be here, buddy. And I looked at him, I said, I'm graduating tomorrow, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. He said, you got your identification? And I showed him. He said, congratulations and good luck. You know? But I just knew that I was just going to do something different. And I went back to Tulsa and started painting apartments, you know, and did that for 7 years. I'm talking about just painting apartments, and never thought anything about it. I got to do a lot of hunting, and I'd met Darlene, and we had a couple little old kids, and I wanted to. Craig Boddington wrote an article on the Grand Slam deer, whitetail, mule deer, blacktail, and coos deer. At that time, the four. And boy, I thought, wouldn't that be something to shoot a single season Grand Slam of deer? I didn't have any money, and so I'd planned on doing that, and my blacktail hunt fell through. So anyway, I had to cancel my coos deer hunt, and I called Dwayne Adams. I'd never been on a guided hunt in my life. That was would have been my first guided hunt. And he said something. I said, I'd put it off till next year. And he said, okay, I'll just put your deposit over. He goes, you know, you ought to film your hunts next year and make a hunting video. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, you ought to film your hunts and make a hunting video out of that. He said, everybody else is doing that now. I did not know they made hunting videos.
This is like 86?
86. This was in 86. And, hey, good memory. How about that, you know? And I went to Blockbuster. At the end of the street where we lived was a little old Blockbuster. We lived in a shack. We lived in a shack there behind the McDonald's in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. But I went in. I said, you got any hunting videos? He said, yeah, we got about 50 or 12. I said, give me a couple of them. And we did not own a VCR. You could rent VCRs. So I rented a VCR and 2 hunting videos, went home and watched them. And I thought, I don't know anything about this, but I wonder if I think I could do that. And that night, Darlene come in. We had a dishwasher, and it was called Darlene, you know. And she'd do the dishes, and they had the little thing there. Then you'd put that drain them. And I walked up behind her. I said, I think I'm going to make a hunting video. And well, nothing. You know, I mean, I didn't have the money to finish paying. They had all the masters. And she goes, well, how much money do you think you'd need in order to make that video thing? I said, well, I still owe them probably $10,000. I said, no, I'd have to have another $5,000 or $6,000 to probably edit the show to make a video. And she looked around and she said, now don't tell your dad I give you this. And she gave me a wad of $100 bills, $17,000. And I went up the next day and paid them off and give them a down payment to edit my first video. And I said, now I've got the money to pay for the rest of it, but I ain't paying you till I get the video done. And that's how I come up with the Grand Slam of deer, you know. And the biggest distributor of hunting videos in the nation was DMI in Oklahoma City. And I drove over there, and he watched it, and he said, boy, it's got a lot of problems. He said, I think I can sell it. He said, order me 1,000 of them. You know, oh, my God, 1,000, you know. So that's where it all started, you know, and it just and I was able to get another one out, you know, and they sold pretty good. But here was the one that what really kind of made this thing work for me. Sheen Ray was the guy's name. He liked me. And he promoted my tapes, you know, and the second one was a quest for a Boone and Crockett. And admittedly, that one isn't very good, you know. But he called me and he said, come over here, I want to talk to you. So I drove to Oklahoma City and said, I want you to make me some more hunting videos. And I started laughing. And I said, no way. I'm done. I'm not ever going to do. Are you kidding? I said, I'll never get my money back from. I'm just now making just a little bit of money. I still owe my mom money and my dad money. My dad had loaned me $10,000, and he said, "No, I'm going to put up the money for it." He goes, "You got your choice of two different camera guys." I picked the camera guys. He said, "But I'm going to pay all your expenses, and I'm going to front you the money." He goes, "Because people like watching you. We're getting requests for you." He goes, "And I think you can do this because I'm going to team you up with somebody that's a professional." And I worked with Wade Nolan. Wade's no longer with us now. And Wade tutored me and saw in me the potential, and worked with me. And he was a professional. Everything had to be shot off the tripod, and we had a little bit of luck involved. Some pretty good footage on some things. And the next year, I released a tape called Whitetails East of the Mississippi, plenty of big bucks to spare, and it became the #1 selling whitetail tape in the nation. And that put me on the map.
Was it like a light switch went off after that?
Yeah, well, it started falling into place then, because then I had got my own equipment, so I learned how to edit, so I could edit my own shows, and I had gotten used to, so that gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 6 videos on the market, and they were selling really good. They were selling good, and I had developed some confidence, and I had kind of got a knack for it. And then the next couple of years, things kind of started falling into place, and I kind of took to it like ducks to water. Really my forte was making hunting videos. That was just something that I could do, and they're little mini movies. I've never considered myself a great television producer. I produce good enough to get by. And my antics and stuff people like watching, but my hunting videos, I have some videos that are, and you go through this building and guys come by. It's 90% of them. I grew up watching your hunting videos. And ambush, invading big buck bedding areas, and close enough to get that. You start calling out. These are classic hunting videos that stand on their own 2 feet today. They were really good, and I'm really proud of those things, But those really made me kind of who I am today. Mm-hmm. It's just that the video business just started dying out. VHS turned to DVD, and now the last DVD I released, I started selling them in packs of 6, and I'd tell people they make great coasters at parties, So anyway, but it's been an interesting ride, and you could never guess that it would evolve into, what it has been for me. And I pinched myself. We had my 50-year class reunion, 50 year. Did I say that? Yes, 50-year class reunion last summer out of my place, out of a class of 112. And I don't even think my classmates really, very few of them, a couple of them, but most of them, they don't have a clue what, and I'm meeting and we're talking, and in my mind I'm thinking, I know you've had probably pretty good life, but you ain't got to have the life that I've had. It ain't been any better than mine, let me tell you. Jiminy Christmas, I've gotten to do for a living, what I would do for free, and I still get to do it. We put in a full fall last year, and I did a podcast with Michael Waddell at the SHOT Show, and we both agree it was a tough year last year. All across the board, everybody struggled, and we did good, but we had to work harder than we normally did. And that's just hunting. Some years, the deer just don't cooperate properly. See, it was kind of a weird rut across the country, and almost everybody I talked to, they had to buckle up and put more time in. Even my son, he said, Dad, he goes, I don't think we've spent this much time in blinds the last 10 years. I said, no, we spent a lot of time. We put the time in, but we did good. We did good,
Mm-hmm. What, with all the experience you have, what do you think is there a whitetail myth that you'd like to bust? It could be anything that you think a lot of people think about whitetails that you think is not correct.
That there's the unkillable buck.
So what do you mean by that? You think they're all killable?
I think every one of them is. Every buck is killable. Back in the late 1980s, a guy, you know, when the video business kind of took off, riders, outdoor, you know, at that time, riders were kind of the gods of the industries, you know. And I grew up reading Jack O'Connor and all those great they were great storytellers and writers, you know. But when the video guys came along, we started stealing their thunder, if that makes sense. And riders, I've been in hunting camps with riders that wouldn't speak to me. Just flat wouldn't speak to me. And I didn't take it personal because I kind of understood what was going on. But a guy wrote an article, and it was called The Unkillable Buck, a well-known writer. And that thing just kind of took off, and other people got to, you know, and it was a buzz around that some mature bucks are just so intelligent and so mature that they depress and fight off the urge to when the rut hits, they just, you know, they approach the rut differently than other deer, and that they refuse to be and people started believing that well, that this buck I'm hunting is one of them. You know, the rut's going on, but it doesn't make any difference. I'm not going to get a chance. Let me tell you what, that's a bunch of baloney. That's a bunch. This rut thing. I got a videotape called The Rut. Yeah, you need to watch that, guys. It's pretty good. That is a Mother Nature God-given thing. That's what the rut does and is for. And the rut, the biggest and the baddest, the biggest racked, mature, you know, that's his job. He's there to breed the does, and as many of them as he can every 3 or 4 days. You know, that's it. You know, he's not suppressing that. He's going to do it. He just survives because he gets lucky. You know, but when the rut hits, I tell people, man, alive, you know, we had dinner last night in Hershey, you know, where the chocolate factory is here, you know, and the guy that took us lives in this country, and he was telling me about all the land that Hershey owns around. He goes, boy, and they don't allow any hunting on any of it. He said, there's some really big bucks on those properties. And I told him, I said, if I lived around here, I'd be finding me someplace over there next to some of that property that Hershey owns, and I'd be right up on that fence line, and I'd be hunting, you know. Because when they cross over, you know, those deer that run around over there, they may live all their life on that Hershey property, but those deer belong to the state of Pennsylvania, not Hershey, you know. And when the rut hits, man, it's Katie bar the door. Everything comes off. The biggest, baddest, meanest buck in the county, you know, can be over there 10 miles, and the next day when the rut's going on, the doe he's on may lead him right in front of you where you can kill him on a 5-acre piece of property, you know. So that's what makes the rut so great, you know. But when the rut hits, the bucks, or the old mature bucks, are on it, looking for a doe to breed, to keep Mother Nature happy, to keep God happy. And that's the greatest time for anyone, any whitetail deer hunter, when that rut hits. You know, and it may be a weird year where the weather's bad, but still, that rut is going to happen, and that's your time when you have a chance. That's the great equalizer for everybody. That's your chance to be in the woods and find a piece of property next to a great big piece of property that hasn't been hunted, or was posted that says no hunting and haven't allowed any hunting for years. Even if it's 5 acres, get permission on that 5 acres and plant yourself there and get ready, because it may be your ticket to that buck coming over. And if that doe comes over that fence, buddy, he's coming with her, no questions asked, you know. It's the great equalizer, and there's no such thing as the unkillable buck because of the rut.
I wish it was November.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about, geez, how many states have you hunted, Roger?
33 different U.S. states.
33 different U.S. states. What's your favorite, and what's the one you dislike the most, if there's any? There's
just no place like Texas. If you're a whitetail deer hunter, there's no state like the state of Texas. And Texas is like 5 or 6 states rolled into one. Number one, it's so huge. It is an enormous state, and it has so many different geographical locations, and the plains of North Texas, and the pines of Eastern Texas, and the swamplands of the Southeast Texas, and then the brush country of South Texas, and the hill country, the Big Bend country, the Big Rock country in West Texas. They're all so unique and so beautiful and so different, and they're all loaded with whitetail deer. And Texas is the most hunter-friendly state in the union. They love hunters and sportsmen and welcome there, and it's the best deer tag in the history of mankind for $320, and this includes your archery permit. For $320, you get 3 buck tags, you get 3 or 4 doe tags, you get a mule deer buck tag with a couple of mule deer doe tags, and you get to hunt all the exotics and hogs that are there for the entire year, and includes your bird tags for wild turkey for $320. It's the best bargain that there is, and because of the MLD program that a lot of the big ranches can get on, you don't even have to use your state tag. So, and there's more and more of them popping up. Texas has this special program for these bigger ranches, and they can sign up for it, and they get issued the tags, 20 or 30 or 40, and then they issue them to the. Some of them, if you want to shoot, of course you have to pay for it, but if you want to shoot $5, they'll issue you 5 buck tags. So it's unlimited with the MLD programs, So Texas is just a sportsman's paradise, and it it's just nice. I mean, trust me, I put in my time. I did it again this year. Sit and hunt all day long. I could tell several times that Josh and I sit and hunted all day long. We sit with a wounded, did our wounded warrior hunt there just out of Henrietta, Oklahoma. A gal in a wheelchair that was injured in the war drove up from Houston, Texas, and we took her on a hunt. And we sat there Saturday from daylight till dark. We never saw a single deer, buck or doe. So we put our time in many days just see a deer. And there's guys from, Vermont, New Hampshire. Those are tough. Maine's a very difficult whitetail deer state. I hunted there, but I didn't kill my deer in Maine. You can sit for 3 or 4 days and see 1 or 2 deer. That don't generally happen in Texas. Sometimes if you go 2 or 3 minutes without seeing one, something's wrong. No, it's not quite like that.
True in brush country, like you hear about all the rattling tactics and that sort of thing in South Texas, where boom, it just seems like deer flying to it.
Well, rattling works everywhere. Okay, now here, I'm glad you brought that up. The first time that I ever saw. When was it? About 1984 or 85. This was my first guided hunt. I'd never been on a guided deer hunt in my entire life. I pinched my pennies, pinched my dog, and this back in my single days. And I drove a Datsun 280ZX sports car. And you know what that is? You don't even know. You don't know what that is? Yeah. Well, you're an idiot. No. Google it up. No, it's a pretty hot car back then. It's a nice sports car. I drove that. That's all I had. I drove that to South Texas, and you know what a bump gate is? Oh, God help this man. We're going to have prayer right now. All right, a bump gate is a gate you pull up to, and you push it open, then you drive on through it. That's a bump gate. They're all over South. Yeah. I'll take you down there sometime. Well, this ranch I'm hunting had 17 bump gates. Well, I ain't bump with my 280ZX sports car, so it took me forever to get there. Anyway, it was the long and short of it is I didn't kill a deer, and I saw a few, but I was depressed. I spent $1,500. Boy, it was a fortune back then, and He said, stay over. I'm going to take you over here on a place to hunt. I'm going to take you. So I stayed over, and he took me out on and it was $200, and I didn't have to pay for it, but $200 a day lease. Pay $200 you can hunt. So anybody can hunt it. Great big piece of property. And he said, all right. He goes, we're going to do some rattling. I'd never rattled in my life. I'd never seen it. I heard about it, read about it. So, okay. He goes, you get ready. And we're just sitting out here in the wide open. I'm talking about wide open. There was brush kind of around it. But this field we're looking at, you could see 800 yards. There wasn't a tree on it. And he gets up in the back of that pickup truck with a set of about 180 rattling. He started beating on him. And I thought, does he think I'm just a total moron? I mean, and this is just, and I'm just clicking my teeth and rolling my eyes. I'm shooting a 7 mag. And I'm looking out across this. You could see 800 yards. And he just kept hitting. And I'm talking about I'm talking about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. He just kept on. And I'm going, golly, this is the craziest thing. And then I looked up, and way back there with a speck. And he said, that's a buck. Get ready. And I said, what? And I threw the glass up. It's a 140 class deer at least. And he was coming in. He was coming. And I thought, this is nuts. This don't. So I'm looking around there. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get some kind of rest. And that buck kind of rip, roar, snorting to about 130 yards, 20, 30 yards, stopped. And he's just huffing a pat. And I guarantee you I'm huffing and puffing more than he was. I'm shaking all over. And I shot. That bullet went over the moon. I didn't come. He turned around and just took off. And I threw another one at him. I believe in having 11 in the air. I shot again. And I looked up at him, and he goes, I thought you could shoot. I couldn't even talk. I thought, if I hadn't have seen this, I wouldn't have believed it. If I hadn't have seen it, I wouldn't have believed it. And I told somebody today, somebody asked me today about rattling. And I told him, I said, listen, everyone from everywhere, if it's the right time of year, typically across most of the country, the end of October up to the middle of November, I said, when you get those horns and you start banging on them and kicking pounding the ground and acting like you're just a total moron, stupid, you are calling in deer. It's impossible. They're coming. It's just that they don't all come in rip roar snorting where you can see them. You are bringing deer in, and the biggest mistake most guys make when they're calling and grunting with deer. I would never go into the woods without grunt calls, and I'm rattling, blowing off. I've seen so many guys over the years. Oh my God! No offense to anybody doing a seminar this week. Take your grunt call and caress it, morass it, try to, you know what I tell people? Take it, stick it in your mouth, and blow on it. If you don't do nothing, blow louder. If you don't do nothing, blow louder. If that doesn't work, go, hey, stupid, I'm over here. Just blow on the things. When I'm rattling, I'm calling. I'm making just do it. Just do it. And maybe it only happens once a year or twice a year. Here they'll come. But they're coming in. They just don't come all the way in, And they do here in Pennsylvania. You just can't see them because of all the trees. You can't see 50 yards. But they're going to come. They do come. They do react. It works here just like it does in Texas, But most guys, number one, they don't do it. And when they do it, they don't do it. They don't do it long enough. They want That didn't work. Yeah. You know, hit those things for 10, 15 minutes. Bang on the things. Make some noise, you know. Wait 15, 20, 30 minutes, you know, and do it again, you know. And then be patient. Then look. Look up into the timber, glass. Look for movement, because they're in there somewhere. It just, you know, and they do get impatient, because sometimes it takes them a long time to get there, you know. So, but rattling and grunting for deer it does work, but you just have to be consistent and keep doing it, you know. But when it happens to you, when it does, you know, then see, you get a little bit of confidence. When you see it and experience it, you know, then it gives you confidence to do it again and again and again.
That's fun. That's a good demonstration. What you've shot obviously a bunch of deer. What's your favorite caliber for shooting a deer? Favorite gun? What's your go-to?
Well, you mean the gun that the company I shoot for asked me to shoot, or what gun I really think?
We want to really know, if you can.
There's just no gun like a 300 mag. There's no rifle caliber like a 300 mag. You can now, yes, it's going to kick you a little bit, you know, but with a 300 mag, you know, you can get that smaller bullet, and man, that thing will shoot flat out to 450, just flat as a pancake, you know. Or you can beef it up. If you want to hunt grizzly bear, you can beef that puppy up, and the meanest brown grizzly bear in the country comes charging in on you, you can put the hammer on him with a 300 mag, you know. Great elk rifle, you know. It's probably overkill for most whitetails, but still, the thing about it is, you know, when you pull that trigger with a 300 mag, and you hit anywhere up in the he gonna get on the ground. Yeah, you know, this running off and looking for the blood trail for 100 yards, that doesn't happen very often, you know. I had the privilege of shooting for Dakota Arms for 14 years. I shoot for Bergara now, and they make a real fine rifle. One of the best out-of-the-box rifles that a guy can buy. The cost value is right there. It's very, very, very fine rifles. But I shot for Dakota for 14 years when Don Allen was alive, one of the premier master gun makers in the country. And a Dakota rifle was all custom, everything about it, you know. And it was they were expensive rifles. And I was so blessed to get to start working with Don Allen at Dakota. And Don made me a 300 mag. And for 7 years, there was a 7-year period. And I worked with Swarovski for a while during that period. And I put a 3x9 Swarovski scope on that Dakota. And there was a 7-year period that I never touched it. Zeroed it in about 2.5 inches high at 100. I kicked it down the mountain in Mexico 1 year, and I've never changed. It was just, you know. And buddy, when I pulled the trigger on that puppy, and I had Joe, the late great Joe McCool, who passed away a few years ago, did the trigger job for me, you know, and it was very light. I'm not going to say what it was, but it was very, very light trigger, you know. One of the real keys for all you guys out there is having a light, crisp trigger. The key to, especially if you have any kind of issues, which we all do with buck fever. If you don't have issues with buck fever, why are you going? Isn't that right? Why would you go if you don't get an issue with buck fever? People ask me, oh, you ever get buck fever? Well, every time. You know, if you're not getting buck fever, why are you out there? You know, but a light, crisp trigger helps you in that moment. You know, when your toenails are turned upside down and you're cross, you know, get that crosshair, the light, crisp trigger, you pull it, you got him, you know. And you got a 6, 7, 8 pound trigger, and you're trying to hold it on him and trying to squeeze the trigger, you know. It doesn't work very good, you know. But I had a light, crisp trigger, and I shot, and I sold with the hunting strictly with the hunting videos, I was told by Don and the marketing manager that I sold more Dakota rifles than anything or anybody or any advertising they did over the years. But when I pull the trigger, well, on a 99.9% of the time I pull that trigger with that animal, he hit the ground in a hurry. And guys like to see animals fall like that, And when you're a hunter, don't you like to pull the trigger and watch them fall? Or do you like to see them run off? Well, I'll trail him. No, I like it. Well, there's nothing to trail, is there? But anyway, and the 300 mag. But there's some great calibers out there, I've been shooting a 6.5, and that's a great caliber. But any of your calibers, nothing beats bullet placement. Good bullet placement, and nothing, just nothing lives that has had both of its lungs blown out. Nothing.
So when you're in that target acquisition moment, looking for placement, I mean, you've killed a ton of animals, a ton of whitetails over the years. Have you had worse experience with forward hits or hits back?
Well, back, sure, because, let me tell you.
Archery too, I guess.
Yeah. Once you've got a bunch of animals under your belt, bow or rifle, then you have this little hidden man that is grown and learns to live inside of you, and you know when to take a shot. You just know. If you listen to that little voice and you watch the animal, you know. And sometimes, and I have been guilty of this. Lord forgive me, but I have been guilty of this because of television, of waiting for the perfect broadside shot. Well, technically, there's no such thing as a perfect shot, all right? And I have passed up quartering 2 shots before when that little voice said, there it is, just right there, put it right there. He's going to drop, But, well, it'll be better if he turned broadside. And then crap happens. The longer you wait on an animal, the bad things can happen. The longer, and I'm not, you can always rush your shot, but you can wait too long too. And sometimes waiting too long is even worse than rushing it, But when they get perfectly broadside, most guys have the tendency to shoot back. And when you do, you really run the risk because, you don't have to be too far off when you're shooting in the back to hit stomach, gut, a little high, bad things can happen, In many instances, for me, my favorite shot is actually slightly out there, just quartering to me, slightly turned, where you can put it between the neck right into that shoulder right there. Oh, boy, that's a good shot right there because you still, typically they just fold up like an umbrella, And the broadside shot, unless you get up on the bone and shoulder, that's where they run. And you're going to have to track them. Now, if it's a well-placed shot, there's going to be a blood trail, But I have shot them. I shot them. I get to hunt Rancho Cuevas every year. This just finished our 7th year. It's considered the greatest whitetail ranch in all of Mexico, all right? And it's not commercially hunted. And I was invited a few years ago now, and I've been invited every year since, and I like it down there, all right? Thank you for the invite. But not this year. But last year, we took a bunch of wounded soldiers down there, and it took a while to get them their deer. It just was one of those deals, and I only had 1 day to hunt. I had 1 day to hunt, and Mark Budzeyes is leases and manages the ranch. So we get into the high rack. You ever been in a high rack? I'm gonna quit asking you questions.
It's a first individual, but you got me running on my heels, right?
Okay, buddy. Well, it's a Suburban, and they've put a rack up on top, and the steering wheel. They run a rod from the steering wheel all the way up through it and you drive it from the top of the That's a high rack.
Makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'd like it. You'd like it. You'd like it. And so you get up off the ground and you can see over the brush, you know. And Mark, bless his heart, you know, he drives like a madman. It'll scare you to death. He drives like a madman up there. Yeah. But it's a great place to spot deer and especially, you know, if you're rifle hunting, which we normally are rifle hunting down there. So we're going. Well, we got one afternoon. And we're going to go high racking to try to find me a deer to shoot. You know, it's not are we going to find one. It's just are we going to find one that I can shoot. You know, and sure enough, towards the end of the day, about 300. You know, I tell you, it's 338 yards, and I'm using a borrowed gun because we don't take guns down there. Mark takes our Bergaras ahead of time, and this particular year, he didn't get his paperwork done, and so he went over and had to borrow a rifle off a rancher. You know, and I guarantee you, this rifle hadn't been fired in 10 years. I mean, it was kind of a rough way to do it, and it had a trigger pull of about 9 pounds. And I kid you not, I bet it was 9 pounds, and it's 338 yards, and this little buck run across the road, and this other one steps out, and it's a toad. Do you know what a toad is? This is a toad. All right, I mean, even I'm going, oh crap. And Mark said, no, go ahead and shoot this one. You know, and so this is going to be the biggest buck I've ever killed down there. And I don't know how big he is, but he's big enough. He's big, and I've got this stinking gun, and I'm going, oh my God. And my son's filming. You on him? Here we go. And I did this. I'd yank the trigger. It's got a 9 pound. And he bucked the buck. I could see the buck. And Josh goes, "Oh, you hit him good." I said, "Well, it looked like it." And you could hear it. Whop. You know, you could hear the whop. You know. So we get down there. And there wasn't a drop of blood. There was not a drop of blood in that road. You know, it's Sendero. You know, he's shooting down these. So we get out, and the three of us, are combing through the cactus and thick brush, looking on the sides. There's no blood. We go 80, 90 yards. There's not a drop of blood. When we look at the footage, you know, I hit him right here, right behind it's a good, solid hit. And I don't know what the bullets were. Maybe I'm glad because and I'll be dog Mark saw where some cactus had been. He goes, look here, this cactus is broke down. He goes, I think he's dragging here. This is where he's dragging. And without finding any blood, we go back up. There was some more cactus, and finally there was some blood, and the deer's laying there 30 yards dead. You know, and he's a 250-pound, 165-inch buck. And he did not bleed until just right there before we found him. You know, so that does happen sometimes. And please, guys. Please, now not everybody has the opportunity to have footage to look and see it, you know. But Josh hit one. Josh hit just a 100 South Texas buck this year that didn't bleed for 100 yards. But we found the deer. There are some times during rifle that you can make a good shot behind the shoulder, and that sucker, for whatever reason, just doesn't bleed for a while. Don't ever take for granted that you missed or that it was a bad. Just keep looking and put the time in, because a lot of this was a 165-inch 10-point buck that, you know, we might have, in other circumstances, might have just given up. We looked for an hour before we found that deer, and he's only laying 100 yards from where I hit him, and it was a good hit, too. I don't know what the question was, but we got off on something wild, didn't we? You know what a high rack is now, don't you?
You're teaching me something about every 10 minutes. I'm like a Datsun C380. What a high rack is.
What is some advice for some young pups? And it could be life advice. You live a lot of life. Or it could be hunting.
Yeah, well, stay single as long as you can, all right? And, well, I tell you what, I've been working with Spy Point for a couple of years. All right, you know, and you're a trail camera guy. Okay, you know, all right, you know. And I have said this, that the greatest change that I have seen since I started in the industry is trail cameras. You know, and I'm a big proponent of trail cameras. You know, my Lord, it has changed everything about how we think and how we hunt and everything else. It just, I can remember the old initial trail cameras. Well, they were boxes with a 35 millimeter camera here that would and you had to go in to take 32 pictures, and you had to take it and have them developed to see what. Yeah, I was there, and boy, now there's so many great trail cameras out there, including the Exodus, and there's so many great trail cameras, but trail cameras have made hunters lazy, and nothing can take the place of just good old-fashioned getting out there and reading sign and putting in the time and reading sign and being an outdoors, a woodsman. And then let trail cameras complement your woodsmanship, you know, because a trail camera can just be off 10 yards. And you're, this much. Yes, right, and you're missing
your head goes like this.
There you go, and you're missing the deer, you know, and guys are kind of getting away from getting out there and looking at sign and tracks, and you know, trust me, deer poop everywhere they go. Everywhere there's, you know, look for fresh sign for droppings, you know, for rubs and scrape, you know, scrape line, learning what a scrape line really is, you know, and using some tactic in your mind on what you would do, you know, what that deer's doing out there. Just good old-fashioned common sense woodmanship. We've kind of gotten away from that, you know, and nothing takes the place of that to me, you know. Trail cameras are fabulous, but just use them as a complement to the time and effort you put in to the woods in scouting and being a deer hunter, instead of just somebody out there. Well, the deer's going to be here at 10:43. He was here yesterday at 10:43 in the morning, and you know, so I'll kill him tomorrow at 10:43. Yeah, I doubt it.
Have you caught yourself doing that at any point?
Yes, sure, absolutely.
Everyone has.
Everyone has.
Yeah.
Everyone has. Everyone has. But don't let that just dictate you. You know, get out and be willing to check. And I could almost kick myself this year. We hunted down in southeast Oklahoma on a new property that I actually liked, and I think I'm going to probably go back and hunt with him again. I ended up shooting a pretty good deer, but we were hunting a toad, a big one, a really good one, you know. And we didn't get out there and spend enough time looking for other places to set up that we should have, and I regret that. Of course, my son was hunting, so maybe I got lazy because he was hunting. I'd already killed a real nice deer, you know. But I look back at that and I just could kick myself. We could have done some other things. We didn't have to sit in a box blind. We didn't have to. We could get out and you know, you know, for years I never killed a deer out of a box blind, you know. I've killed a lot of deer just crawling up next to a tree and sitting there on a hot new trail that I found, you know. And I wish we had done that more then. And I have kind of committed to myself this coming year to get back to some just more good old-fashioned hardcore common sense hunting and just see how that goes. I actually think I'll probably enjoy it, you know. I'm still going to put my trail cameras out, you know. But I'm gonna try to be smarter up here too in my hunting and not be as lazy. Mm-hmm. It's easy to get lazy, you know.
Yeah. Anything else that you think of? I have one more question. Have you seen the Netflix movie? Have you seen? Do you know what I'm talking about? I was gonna make a note of it. It's The Legacy of a Whitetail Deer Hunter, Netflix movie.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on it? Is there image and likeness with you or no?
Yeah.
You think?
He's playing me.
Did they talk to you about it?
Yeah, sure.
Well, what's the story?
Yeah, I got paid. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Not much, but I did get.
So,
it's based off my 2003 DVD, The Legacy of a Whitetail Deer Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't actually. It's kind of a strange deal. Another guy whose mother, a guy that helped me with my websites, mother lives in L.A., Los Angeles, California, in the entertainment business, And she told my son about this legacy of a whitetail deer hunter. There was an announcement that they were going to make this movie, and she said, "Don't you know him? Aren't you working with him?" And they said that it was based on the Roger Raglin DVD, The Legacy of Your Whitetail Deer. So he called me, and I said, "Yeah, well, I haven't heard from him." So to try to hurry up and get through it, I'm dealing with Jody Hill's lawyer out of L.A. and so we kind of start going back and forth, you know. And I said, "Well, that's the name of my DVD, and the storyline is that a well-known outdoor hunting video takes his son." I said, "That's the storyline in The Legacy of Whitetail." "Oh, just coincidence." I said, "Come on now." Not really. So we went back and forth for a few months on the deal, you know, and we came to an agreement, you know, and I got a check.
Okay.
I got a check, and what's really funny, part of my contract and I'm in the credit rolls.
Okay.
I'm in the very last one, very end. Special thanks to Roger Raglin. I'm in there. That's my claim to fame. All right. But part of my contract was that I was going to get to go to the premiere, and I wondered why Gonzalez laughed when I told him I wanted that in the contract. He goes, "Oh, I'll make sure it gets in there," because I'm thinking like a big red carpet, you know. Well, the premiere was at the Austin
South by Southwest.
Yeah, that's where the premiere was, and it was just going to be like they're going to air 3 or 4 times during the week, and so I didn't even go. You know, it made my daughter mad. You know, but I thought I'm not going to drive all the way down there for that. But I have a copy of the original script, and all that good stuff. But now they're editing it. They get it shot, and I was kind of hoping they would want my advice on something that they didn't. Trust me, they didn't give me any. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, they didn't get my advice on it. But the editor, I had a great relationship. I still have her phone number in my phone, and she goes, "This is best." Nah, she was always mad. This is the hardest movie I've ever edited. It was edited in New York, and she was griping and moaning and complaining about it. But they needed deer footage, you know. And in the first of the movie, you know, Josh Brolin, what's his name in the movie? Buck something or another. You know, but you know, and he yells Jumping Joseph instead of Jiminy Christmas. All right, and like that's going to make a difference. But anyway, but you know, those animals that he shoots, they're mine. But they needed animals, you know, footage, and so, and they specifically asked, "Do you have any footage shot in North Texas with a knockdown kill scene?" Now, you know, I mean, I know they're watching my television show, and I hunt in North Texas every year, so they're asking for. And just happened that the year before, I got this in the morning, like 9 in the morning, beautiful sunlight, about 135-inch buck out there, and boom, and he just drops, you know. So I've got this footage, and when it was all said and done, I made more money off that one scene than I did signing off on the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. But I stuck my heels in the mud. I said, "Here's how much it is." And well, that's kind of. I said, "Well, I'll go find it somewhere else." You know, and I got to check the next week. You know, so yeah, it's not. It's kind of not much of a movie, to be honest with you. But at least you know, I've got a great big poster there and with it, and then I have the original, you know, Legacy of a Whitetail Deer Hunter DVD. They're tied into it, so at least I've got some. I could say Josh Brolin made an attempt to play Roger Raglin at one time in my life, you know.
That's great.
Thanks for bringing it up. That's a wonderful memory tip for me. I was bragging about it, you know, before the movie come out. I was bragging, "Oh man, who else they made a movie about?" You know? And then I saw the movie, and I never said another word about it to anybody.
Well, I'm glad we got to go on the record here.
Yeah,
about that.
now we got the air cleared. Yes, yes. I do not recommend it. Keep it away from your kids. Under the age of 10 for sure, or 12, or maybe 15.
Great. Well, thank you, Roger, so
Hey,
much.
thanks, guys. For
really
having me.
appreciate it. Anything you want to share? Any website? Anything else?
Where can people find you?
Yeah. Well, just
Where can they buy stuff?
yeah. RogerRaglin.com, and of course I have the Roger Raglin streaming channel, RogerRaglinChannel.com, and you can go on there and see a bunch of my old BKS videos, and it has my complete weight loss program on that thousands of people have lost probably 1 million pounds by now, and I tell you that while I'm drinking a shake. But anyway, you can find me there, and I appreciate so much the opportunity to come see you guys again.
Yeah,
Thanks
it was
for
a pleasure.
having me very much.
So much fun.
Enjoyed it much. Just having some fun.